I had 3 minutes before they dragged me down that aisle, so I did the only logical thing. I jumped out of the cathedral window in my wedding dress and ran straight into the forbidden forest, where even alphas fear to hunt. But I'm getting ahead of myself. 3 minutes earlier, I stood in the anteroom of the Grand Cathedral, staring at my reflection in the full-length mirror. The dress was beautiful, I'd give them that much. Ivory silk that caught the light, fitted bodice with tiny pearl buttons running down my spine, a train that stretched 6 feet behind me. I looked like every girl's fantasy. I felt like a lamb dressed for slaughter. You look stunning, dear. Elder Margaret adjusted my veil with bony fingers. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. It never did. Alpha King Dante will be pleased. Pleased. As if I were a new car he'd ordered. As if this whole thing wasn't a transaction wrapped up in white lace and political promises. The Blackwood Pack is counting on you, Elder Thomas said from the doorway. This union will bring peace. End the border wars. Your father would be proud. My father was dead. Had been for 3 years. And I was pretty sure if he could see me now, about to be sold off to unite 2 packs that had been killing each other for decades, he'd be rolling in his grave. But I didn't say that. I'd learned to keep my mouth shut. To smile and nod. To be the good little Omega they needed me to be. It's time, Margaret said. My heart hammered against my ribs. The doors to the cathedral opened, and I caught my first real glimpse of him. Alpha King Dante Ashbourne stood at the altar like a dark god. Tall, broad-shouldered, with black hair and a face that could have been carved from stone. Handsome in a brutal sort of way. The kind of handsome that made you forget to breathe, right before it made you forget you had a choice. Our eyes met across the cathedral. His were gold. Predator's eyes. Cold and calculating as they raked over me, assessing his new acquisition. There was no warmth there. No curiosity. Just ownership. In that moment, I saw my future. Saw myself trapped in a gilded cage, producing heirs like some kind of royal broodmare. Saw my freedom, my dreams, myself dying slowly in the shadow of his throne. The music swelled. Elder Margaret gave me a little push. I took 1 step forward. Then another. My feet felt like lead. Each step brought me closer to that altar, closer to those cold gold eyes, closer to a life that would slowly suffocate me. 3 steps from the altar, something inside me snapped. Maybe it was survival instinct. Maybe it was 3 years of grief and rage finally boiling over. Maybe I'd just had enough of being told what to do, who to be, who to marry. I looked at Dante. At the elders. At the hundreds of pack members who'd come to witness this joyous union. And I ran. Not toward the doors, they'd expect that. The guards were already stationed there, massive males hand-picked by the council. No, I went sideways, hiking up my ridiculous dress and sprinting toward the stained glass windows that lined the eastern wall. Behind me, someone shouted. The crowd gasped. I didn't look back. The window shattered like a crystal waterfall. I felt the glass bite into my arms as I dove through, felt the tear of silk as my dress caught on the frame. Then I was falling, landing hard in the rose bushes below. Thorns ripped through the thin fabric. Blood bloomed across white silk like poppies. I didn't stop. I ran across the manicured lawns, past the shocked guards, toward the tree line. Toward the forbidden forest, where the old magic still lingered and rogue wolves hunted in packs. Where even alphas thought twice before entering. Behind me, I heard the pursuit. Heavy boots on grass. Shouted orders. But I'd grown up in this castle. I knew every path, every shortcut. I knew how to disappear. The forest swallowed me whole. Thick canopy blocked out the afternoon sun, plunging everything into shadow. I kept running, my breath coming in ragged gasps, my heart trying to pound its way out of my chest. Branches snagged at my dress. Roots tried to trip me. But I'd played in these woods as a child, before they'd been declared forbidden. Before the rogues had claimed them. I ran until my legs burned. Until the sounds of pursuit faded. Until I couldn't run anymore. Then I collapsed against an ancient oak, my wedding dress in tatters, my arms and legs striped with cuts, my carefully styled hair falling in wild tangles around my face. I'd done it. I'd actually done it. Now what? A twig snapped to my left. I froze. Another snap. Behind me this time. Then another. And another. Until I was surrounded by the sound of paws on dead leaves, of breathing in the darkness. I pressed my back against the tree as they emerged from the shadows. Wolves. 5 of them. No, 7. Bigger than normal wolves, but smaller than pack wolves. Mangy and scarred, with the wild, desperate look of rogues. This was it, then. I'd escaped one fate only to meet another. At least it would be quick. The largest one, a gray male with a torn ear, approached slowly. I could see his ribs through his matted fur. His eyes were yellow and hungry. I closed my eyes, bracing myself. But the attack never came. When I opened my eyes, the gray wolf was, bowing. Head lowered, neck exposed in submission. One by one, the others did the same. What? My voice came out as a croak. The gray wolf shifted. Bones cracked and reformed until a man knelt where the wolf had been. He was maybe 40, weathered and scarred, wearing nothing but tattered pants. Silver Luna, he whispered, his voice rough with disuse. We've been waiting. I'm not, I shook my head. My name is Sarah. Sarah Blackwood. No. Another rogue shifted. A woman this time, younger, with hollow cheeks and desperate eyes. You're the one from the prophecy. The Silver Luna. Born under the winter moon, marked by the old magic. I don't know what you're talking about. But even as I said it, something stirred in my chest. A memory I couldn't quite grasp. My mother's voice, singing a lullaby about silver wolves and forgotten queens. Your mother was one of us, the gray wolf said. Before she mated with your father. Before she joined the Blackwood pack and forgot what she was. My mother died when I was 5. She was murdered, the woman said flatly. By the council. Because she remembered. Because she tried to tell you the truth. The forest spun around me. This couldn't be real. None of this could be real. Show her, someone whispered from the shadows. The gray wolf gestured to my left arm, where my sleeve had torn away. The mark. You've always had it. I looked down. There, just above my wrist, was the birthmark I'd had my whole life. Small, silvery, shaped like a crescent moon. I'd never thought anything of it. But now, in the darkness of the forbidden forest, surrounded by rogues who bowed to me, it seemed to glow. The Silver Luna will rise when the packs have forgotten their true nature, the woman recited. She will unite the scattered, heal the broken, and tear down the false kings. I'm nobody, I said, my voice shaking. I'm just. A growl rumbled through the forest, deep and commanding enough to make the trees tremble. The rogues scattered instantly, melting back into the shadows. I turned slowly. He stood at the edge of the clearing, still in his wedding clothes, not a hair out of place. Alpha King Dante Ashbourne. Somehow, he'd tracked me alone, through the forbidden forest, without breaking a sweat. Those gold eyes blazed in the darkness, fury and something else. Something that made my stomach flip. You've just made this very interesting, little wolf. His voice was silk over steel. A promise and a threat all at once. I should have been terrified. Should have run. Instead, I lifted my chin and met his gaze head-on. Good, I said. I was worried you'd be boring. His lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. It was sharper than that. More dangerous. Oh, Sarah Blackwood, he said, stepping closer. Or should I say, Silver Luna? You have no idea what you've just started. The forest held its breath. And somewhere deep in the darkness, something ancient stirred and woke. Wanting to see what would happen next, subscribe to this channel to get to listen to more of our upcoming exciting stories. Click on the subscribe button now. Thank you. Chapter 2. The fortress rose from the northern mountains like a dark tooth, all black stone and sharp angles against the snow. I'd heard stories about this place. Whispered tales around fires about the king's private stronghold, where enemies went in and never came out. I was currently being carried toward it like a sack of potatoes, thrown over Dante's shoulder. Put me down, I snarled for the 100th time. He ignored me for the 100th time. We'd been traveling for hours. He'd shifted into his wolf, a massive black beast that was more nightmare than animal, and forced me onto his back. When I tried to jump off, he'd shifted back mid-run, caught me, and decided carrying me was easier than dealing with my escape attempts. The man didn't even seem winded. The fortress gates opened at our approach. Guards lined the walls, but they didn't look like normal pack soldiers. These were harder. Scarred. The kind of wolves who'd seen real combat and survived. They bowed to Dante. Not one of them looked at me. Inside, the fortress was as cold as its exterior. All stone corridors and flickering torches, with narrow windows that looked out onto sheer drops. A prison pretending to be a palace. Dante finally set me down in a large chamber. I stumbled, my legs weak from the journey, my ruined wedding dress trailing behind me like a ghost. The room was unexpected. Luxurious, even. A massive four-poster bed dominated one wall, draped in furs. A fireplace crackled with fresh flames. Thick carpets covered the stone floor. There was even a bathing room visible through an open door, complete with a copper tub. A gilded cage was still a cage. Your quarters, Dante said, moving to the fireplace. He looked infuriatingly perfect, while I resembled something that had been dragged backward through the forest. Which, to be fair, I had been. My prison, you mean? Call it what you like. He poured himself a drink from a crystal decanter. Didn't offer me one. You'll be comfortable here. Comfortable? I laughed, the sound brittle and sharp. You kidnapped me. I retrieved my runaway bride. He took a sip, those gold eyes watching me over the rim of the glass. There's a difference. I'm not your bride. I never agreed to marry you. Your pack did. The contract was signed 3 years ago. 3 years. Right after my father died. When the Blackwood pack was at its weakest, hemorrhaging resources and territory in the border wars. I didn't sign anything. Your signature wasn't required. He set down the glass. Your pack elders had full authority to negotiate on your behalf. That's not how it works. I'm not property to be traded. Something flickered across his face, too quick to read. No. You're not. The way he said it made my skin prickle. Like there was another meaning buried underneath. Then let me go. No. Just like that. Simple. Final. Rage bubbled up in my chest, hot and bright. Before I could think better of it, I grabbed the nearest object, a decorative vase, and hurled it at his head. He caught it one-handed without even flinching. Feel better? He asked mildly. I grabbed a candlestick. I wouldn't. I threw it anyway. He dodged this time, and it clattered against the wall behind him. I will never marry you, I said, my voice shaking with fury. I will never submit. I will never. Yes, you've made your position clear. He sounded almost bored. Are you finished? I screamed in frustration and grabbed a book from the shelf. That's a first edition, he said. Throw it if you must, but you'll be disappointed in yourself later. I hesitated, looking at the book in my hands. Then I very deliberately set it down and picked up a decorative pillow instead. Threw that. It bounced off his chest pathetically. Satisfied? Not even close. But I was out of breath, my hands shaking. The adrenaline from my escape was wearing off, leaving behind exhaustion and the sharp sting of my cuts. Dante watched me for a long moment. Then he moved, crossing the room in 3 strides. I backed up instinctively, but he wasn't coming for me, he was going to the door. Someone will bring you food and medical supplies. I suggest you eat and rest. He paused at the threshold. We'll continue this conversation when you're calmer. I'll never be calm enough to want to talk to you. That almost smile again. Sharp enough to cut. We'll see. The door closed behind him. I heard the lock click. I was alone. I made it to the bed before my legs gave out. Sank into the furs and let myself feel it all, the fear, the anger, the bone-deep exhaustion. My body ached. My feet were bleeding. My beautiful, ridiculous wedding dress was ruined beyond repair. And I had no idea what happened next. The next 3 days were a battle of wills. They brought me food, I threw it at the door. They brought me fresh clothes, I shredded them. They brought me medical supplies, I used the bandages to try to make a rope to escape out the window. Didn't work. The drop was too far, and I wasn't suicidal, just desperate. Dante visited twice a day, like clockwork. Morning and evening. He'd stand by the fireplace or sit in the chair by the window, completely at ease while I hurled insults and whatever objects were within reach. He never lost his temper. Never even raised his voice. It was infuriating. You can't keep me here forever, I told him on the 3rd evening. Can't I? My pack will come for me. Will they? He tilted his head, studying me. Tell me, Sarah, when's the last time your pack elders asked what you wanted? What you needed? I didn't answer. Couldn't. When's the last time they treated you as anything other than a burden to be managed? Shut up. Your father was alpha, Dante continued, as if I hadn't spoken. Strong, respected. But when he died, did they consider you for leadership? Did they ask if you wanted to follow in his footsteps? I'm Omega, I said through gritted teeth. I can't lead. You're Omega because they told you that you were. He leaned forward. But we both know that's not the whole truth, don't we? My heart hammered. I don't know what you're talking about. Your wolf. Where is it, Sarah? The question hit like a physical blow. I'd been asked it 1,000 times growing up. Where's your wolf? Why haven't you shifted? What's wrong with you? I don't have one, I whispered. I'm wolfless. Liar. The word cracked through the air like a whip. I flinched. Dante stood, moving closer. You have a wolf. I can smell it on you. Dormant, buried, but there. It's been calling to mind since the moment I saw you in that cathedral. That's not possible. I would know. Would you? He was close now, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating off him. Or would you only know what they told you? Stop. My head was spinning. Just stop. But he didn't stop. Do you want to know the truth, Sarah? The real reason your pack was so eager to marry you off? No. They sold you to pay off war debts. The room tilted. That's a lie. Is it? He pulled a folded document from his jacket. Tossed it onto the bed beside me. The contract. Signed by Elder Thomas 3 years ago. You, in exchange for resources and protection. The border wars end, the Blackwood pack gets to keep their territory, and I get a broodmare, I finished bitterly. Not exactly. His expression was unreadable. Read it. Last page, bottom clause. See what your father's signature bought. My hands shook as I unfolded the document. Legal language swam before my eyes, but I forced myself to focus. To read. And there, at the bottom of the last page, in my father's familiar scrawl. Alpha Magnus Blackwood agrees to transfer full rights and ownership of his heir, Sarah Blackwood, in exchange for the terms outlined above. Said heir to be delivered upon her 25th year, or upon the death of Alpha Magnus, whichever comes first. The document slipped from my fingers. He signed it, I whispered. Before he died. He sold you, Dante said flatly. And your pack honored the contract. Pain lanced through my chest, sharp and bright. Not from the cuts on my arms. This was deeper. This was the last piece of my father's love turning to ash. I don't believe you. He wouldn't. Believe what you want. But ask yourself this, why would your pack be so desperate to get rid of you? What were they so afraid of? Before I could answer, another pain hit, this one different. Deeper. It started in my core and radiated outward, like something was trying to claw its way out from inside. I gasped, doubling over. What? Your wolf, Dante said, his voice sharp with, was that satisfaction? It's waking up. That's not, another wave of pain cut off my words. My vision blurred. My skin felt too tight, like it was trying to split open. Make it stop. I can't. This is between you and your wolf. I don't have a wolf. I screamed. But even as I said it, I felt it, something stirring in the darkness of my mind. Something that had been sleeping my entire life, suddenly opening one eye. And it was angry. The pain peaked, white-hot and blinding. Then it receded, leaving me gasping on the bed, sweat-soaked and shaking. Dante crouched beside me, close enough to touch. How long have they been suppressing it? What? Your wolf. Someone's been drugging you, keeping it dormant. Probably since you were a child. That's insane. Is it? Have you been taking any supplements? Herbs in your food? Special tea from the pack healer? I opened my mouth to deny it. Then stopped. The daily tonic. Elder Margaret brought it to me every morning. For your health, she'd said. To keep you strong. I'd been taking it for as long as I could remember. Oh gods. They've been poisoning you, Dante said quietly. Keeping you weak. Keeping your wolf suppressed. Because if it woke up, if you shifted. He trailed off, his eyes intense on mine. What do you know about the Silver Bloodline? That name again. The one the rogues had whispered in the forest. Nothing. I've never heard of it. Another lie they told you. He stood, pacing to the window. The Silver Bloodline was the first. The original wolves, blessed by the moon goddess herself. They were powerful beyond measure. Could heal with a touch, communicate without words, command any wolf regardless of rank. That's just a myth. Is it? Then explain why every pack in the region has been hunting your bloodline for generations. Why your mother was killed. Why they've kept you weak and hidden. My mother's face flashed in my memory. The lullaby she used to sing. Silver wolves and forgotten queens. I don't understand. You're the last one, Dante said. The last living descendant of the Silver Bloodline. And our kind, all of us, we're dying, Sarah. A curse is killing us. Making us weaker with each generation. Fewer births. More rogues. We're running out of time. What does that have to do with me? Everything. He turned to face me fully. The Silver Bloodline can break curses. It's the only bloodline with that power. That's why I need you. So this isn't about marriage at all. Something bitter twisted in my chest. You don't want a bride. You want my blood. I want your power, he corrected. Willingly given. Why would I ever help you? Because, he said quietly, I'm not the only one looking for you. Other packs, other alphas, they want the Silver Bloodline too. But they don't want to break the curse. They want to control you. Use you. Breed you until your power dilutes enough to be manageable. The pain in my chest spiked again. My wolf, stirring. Angry at the thought of being used. Of being controlled. Why should I believe anything you say? You shouldn't. He moved back to the door. But think about this, your pack sold you. Your father signed the contract. The people you trusted have been poisoning you for years. So when Marcus comes to see you tonight, and he will, ask yourself who's really telling the truth. Marcus? My beta. He has his own opinions about my methods. A pause. Don't trust him either. But listen to what he has to say. Then he was gone, the door locking behind him. I lay in the dark, my body aching, my mind spinning. Everything I'd believed about myself, about my family, about my pack, all of it was crumbling like sand. And my wolf, that presence in my mind that shouldn't exist, kept pushing against the walls they'd built to contain it. Growing stronger. Growing angry. Hours later, when the fortress was quiet, my door opened silently. A man slipped inside, tall, lean, with sandy hair and sharp features. He moved like a fighter, balanced and ready. Sarah Blackwood, he whispered. We need to talk. Marcus. He nodded. The king's beta. And possibly your only chance at the truth. I sat up slowly. Why would you help me? Because unlike Dante, I don't believe in keeping people in the dark. He glanced at the door, then back to me. The king doesn't want a bride. He's not even sure he wants to break the curse. What he wants is you. Your bloodline. Your power. He told me that already. Did he tell you that the curse killing our kind was created by the silver bloodline in the first place? That your ancestors cursed us for betraying them? Ice flooded my veins. No. Did he tell you that breaking the curse requires a blood sacrifice? That you'd have to die to save us? What? Marcus's expression was grim. You're the last silver wolf. Your death would complete the cycle. End the curse. And Dante is desperate enough to consider it. Then why hasn't he killed me already? Because there might be another way. One that requires you alive, powerful, and willing. He leaned closer. But Sarah, you need to understand, everyone has an agenda. Dante. Your old pack. Even me. The question is, whose agenda serves you? What do you want? I want you to choose. Not because someone forced you. Not because you were sold or bound or poisoned. I want you to have the power to decide your own fate. He pulled out a vial from his pocket. Pressed it into my hand. This will finish waking your wolf. It'll be painful, but you'll finally be whole. Finally be yourself. I stared at the vial. Clear liquid that looked like water but felt heavier. Why are you doing this? Because the king is my friend, but he's wrong. You can't force someone to save the world. They have to choose it. Marcus moved to the door. Take it or don't. But know that time is running out. For all of us. He was gone before I could ask anything else. I looked at the vial in my hand. Then at the locked door. Then at the window overlooking the northern mountains. I was trapped. Betrayed. Sold and poisoned and lied to. But maybe, I wasn't as powerless as they'd made me believe. The door opened again. Dante stood silhouetted in the torchlight. I thought you might be awake, he said. I held up the vial. Your beta is a terrible conspirator. He's loyal. Just not always to me. Dante stepped inside. Are you going to take it? Should I? That's not my choice to make. But you have an opinion. I always have opinions. He moved closer. Here's the truth, Sarah. The curse is real. Your bloodline is real. And yes, your death might break it. But I didn't bring you here to kill you. Then why? Because there's another prophecy. One that says the Silver Luna won't break the curse through death, she'll break it through power. By becoming what she was always meant to be. His eyes met mine. I don't want a victim. I want a partner. An equal. You want my power. I want you to have your power. There's a difference. And the marriage? Is negotiable. He held out his hand. In it was another document. New contract. New terms. You help me break the curse, I help you destroy everyone who betrayed you. Your pack. The council. Anyone who ever hurt you. Revenge. Justice, he corrected. Your choice of terms. I looked at the contract. At the vial in my hand. At the Alpha King who'd kidnapped me and maybe, was offering me the only real choice I'd ever had. Why should I trust you? You shouldn't. But trust this. We're both trapped by this curse. Both running out of time. Both surrounded by people who want to use us. He leaned down, his face inches from mine. So here's my offer, marry me willingly. Help me break the curse. And I'll give you what you truly want, revenge on those who sold you. Power enough to make them regret ever thinking you were weak. And if I refuse? Then you stay here, comfortable and safe, while the world burns around us. And when the curse finally kills our kind, you'll die with it. Last of your line. Powerless and forgotten. He straightened. Choose, Sarah Blackwood. Cage or crown. Victim or queen. Then he left me alone with the vial, the contract, and the growing certainty that nothing in my life had ever been what it seemed. And somewhere deep inside, my wolf opened both eyes and howled. Wanting to see what would happen next, subscribe to this channel to get to listen to more of our upcoming exciting stories. Click on the subscribe button now. Thank you. Chapter 3. I didn't take the vial that night. Or the next morning. Or the day after that. Instead, I sat with it on the windowsill, watching the light change through the glass, while my wolf paced restlessly inside my mind, a presence that shouldn't exist but undeniably did. On the third day, Dante came to my room and found me exactly where he'd left me. Still deciding, he asked. Still thinking. Time isn't a luxury we have. Then you should have brought me here sooner. I turned to face him. I have a counteroffer. His eyebrow raised. I'm listening. Not marriage. Not yet. An alliance. Temporary. You help me learn about my bloodline, access my wolf, understand what I am. In exchange, I'll help you research the curse. See if there's a way to break it that doesn't involve anyone dying. Research, he said flatly. I'm not agreeing to anything permanent until I know all the facts. Real facts, not the manipulated version everyone keeps feeding me. I stood, crossing my arms. Those are my terms. Dante studied me for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, he smiled, a real one this time, not the sharp, dangerous thing he usually wore. You're your father's daughter after all. Don't. The word came out harsher than I intended. Don't talk about him like you knew him. I didn't. But I knew his reputation. Magnus Blackwood never made a deal without reading every clause 3 times. He moved closer. All right. Alliance. Temporary. But we do this my way. Training starts tomorrow at dawn. Training for what? For war, little wolf. Because whether you want to admit it or not, you've had one declared on you since the moment you were born. Dawn came too early and too cold. I met Dante in the fortress courtyard, where frost still clung to the stones and my breath misted in the air. He was already there, dressed in simple training clothes, looking infuriatingly awake. You're late, he said. The sun is barely up. Your enemies won't wait for you to be comfortable. He tossed me a bundle of clothes. Change. That dress won't survive the first hour. The training clothes were practical, leather pants, a fitted tunic, boots that actually fit. When I emerged from behind the stone wall, Dante was stretching, and I tried very hard not to notice the way the fabric pulled across his shoulders. Failed, but I tried. First lesson, he said. Your wolf is dormant because someone's been suppressing it. But suppression isn't the same as absence. It's still there. Still part of you. You just need to learn how to reach it. And how exactly do I do that? By pushing past the fear. Before I could ask what he meant, he shifted. One moment he was a man. The next, a massive black wolf stood before me, easily twice the size of a normal wolf. His gold eyes were the same, but everything else was pure predator. My heart hammered. Every instinct screamed at me to run. Don't, Dante's voice said in my mind, and I nearly jumped out of my skin. Your wolf knows I won't hurt you. Trust it. I don't know how. Close your eyes. Breathe. Feel for that presence inside you. The one that's been watching. Waiting. I did as he said, forcing myself to breathe through the panic. And there it was. That shadow in my mind. My wolf, pressed against walls I hadn't known existed. Now push, Dante said. Push against whatever's holding it back. I pushed. Nothing happened. Harder. I pushed again, and pain lanced through my skull. I gasped, stumbling. Dante shifted back immediately, catching me before I fell. Easy. You're trying too hard. It's not about force, it's about surrender. That's contradictory, I muttered, but I was very aware of his hands on my arms. Of how close he was. Of the heat radiating off him. Is it? His voice was low. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is stop fighting yourself. Our eyes met. For a moment, the courtyard fell away. There was just his gold gaze and the strange pull I'd been ignoring since the cathedral. Then Marcus appeared at the gate, and the moment shattered. My lord. The morning reports. Dante stepped back, his expression shuddering. We're not finished, he told me. Then to Marcus, my study. 10 minutes. They left me alone in the courtyard, breathing hard, my skin still tingling where he'd touched me. This was going to be a problem. The training continued every day. Dawn to dusk, brutal and unrelenting. Dante pushed me past exhaustion, past frustration, past the point where I wanted to quit and go back to being the weak, wolfless Omega everyone had expected me to be. But every time I wanted to stop, I remembered the contract my father had signed. The poison elder Margaret had been feeding me. The way they'd all looked at me like I was a burden to be managed. And I pushed harder. By the end of the first week, I could feel my wolf more clearly, still trapped, but closer to the surface. It was like learning to use a limb I'd never known I had. By the end of the second week, I could sometimes hear it. Not words exactly, but impressions. Emotions. Anger at being caged. Hunger for freedom. And always, an awareness of Dante. My wolf perked up whenever he was near, pressing against my consciousness like it wanted to reach him. Your wolf recognizes me, Dante said one afternoon, after I'd managed to hold a partial shift, just my eyes changing color, for a full minute. We were in the private training room now, away from curious eyes. Just stone walls and burning torches and the two of us, both breathing hard from the session. Recognizes you how? As Alpha. As Pack. He paused. As something else. What else? But he didn't answer. Just handed me a water skin and looked away. The non-answer annoyed me more than it should have. You know what's frustrating? I said, taking a long drink. You demand honesty from me but give none in return. I've been honest about what matters. Have you? I set down the water skin. You told me about the curse. About my bloodline. But you haven't told me about you. About why you're really so desperate to break this curse. My reasons don't matter. They do to me. Dante was quiet for a long moment. Then, come with me. He led me through corridors I hadn't seen before, deeper into the fortress. Down spiral stairs that seemed to go on forever. Finally, we emerged into a large chamber that smelled of sickness and herbs. Hospital beds lined the walls. In them lay wolves, some in human form, some shifted, all of them clearly ill. Their breathing was labored. Their skin had a grayish tint. Some were unconscious. Others stared at nothing with fevered eyes. The wasting sickness, Dante said quietly. It started 5 years ago. 1 or 2 cases. Now it's everywhere. It takes the young, the old, the strong and the weak. No one is immune. I moved between the beds, my heart clenching. A young girl, maybe 12, whimpered in her sleep. An older man's breathing rattled in his chest. How many? We've lost 300 in my kingdom alone. Other packs report similar numbers. He stood at the center of the room, looking at his dying people. This is why I need you. Not for power. Not for politics. For them. Something cracked open in my chest. I'd been so focused on my own betrayals, my own pain, that I hadn't thought about what Dante was carrying. The weight of an entire kingdom dying slowly, and no way to stop it. I'm sorry, I said quietly. I didn't know it was this bad. Now you do. He turned to leave. Tomorrow. Dawn. We try again. But I caught his arm. Wait. Show me. Show you what? Your wolf. Let me see what it's like. What I'm supposed to become. Dante searched my face. Then nodded. The shift was faster this time. More controlled. One moment, a man. The next, that massive black wolf. But this time, I didn't run. Didn't flinch. Instead, I reached out slowly and placed my hand on his head. His fur was coarser than I expected. Warm. I could feel his heartbeat through my palm, strong and steady. Show me, I whispered to my own wolf. Show me what this feels like. And for the first time, it answered. Pain exploded through my body, but different from before. Not suppression breaking, but something emerging. My bones ached. My skin burned. I fell to my knees with a cry. Dante shifted back instantly. Sarah. Don't, I gasped. Don't stop it. I can, I almost. I pushed into the pain instead of away from it. Surrendering, like he'd said. Letting my wolf rise instead of fighting it. My vision blurred. Sharpened. Colors became more vivid. Scents exploded around me, stone and herbs and sickness and Dante, gods. Dante's scent was everywhere, wrapping around me like smoke. And then I felt it. The shift. Partial, incomplete, but there. My hands changed first. Claws extending. Silver fur, actually silver, gleaming like moonlight, spreading across my skin. That's it, Dante breathed. Don't force it. Just let it happen. My teeth elongated. My ears shifted. I could feel my face changing, restructuring. And my eyes. When I looked up at Dante, I knew they were different. Could see the shock on his face. Silver, he said hoarsely. Your wolf is silver. The color hadn't been seen in centuries. Since the original bloodline had been hunted to extinction. I was something that shouldn't exist. The realization was dizzying. Powerful. Terrifying. Dante dropped to his knees in front of me, and for a moment, one breathless moment, I thought he was going to kiss me. His eyes were molten gold, fixed on my partially shifted face with something that looked like awe. Like hunger. Like recognition. He leaned in. I pulled back. No, I said, my voice rough and strange through my changed throat. We had a deal. Alliance. Not this. Whatever this was. This pull between us that felt like gravity and magnets and something far more dangerous. Dante closed his eyes. When he opened them again, the moment was gone. He stood, offering me his hand. "You did well today." I took his hand, my still-clawed hand, and let him pull me up. The shift receded slowly, painfully. When it was done, I was shaking and exhausted and more alive than I'd ever felt. "Rest," Dante said. "We'll continue tomorrow." But as he turned to leave, Marcus burst through the door, his face pale. "My lord. There's been an attack." Dante's entire demeanor changed. "Where?" "Your chambers. Someone left a gift." Marcus's eyes flicked to me. "A dead raven. Wrapped in silver chains. With a message." "What message?" "The false Luna dies on the blood moon." The room went cold. "Traitor," Dante said softly. "Someone in the fortress. Someone who knew Sarah would be training today. Who knew she wouldn't be in her quarters." "They're getting bold," Marcus said. "Or desperate." Dante's jaw clenched. "Double the guards. I want every person in this fortress accounted for. And find out how someone got into my private chambers." "My lord." An explosion rocked the fortress. We all stumbled. Dust rained from the ceiling. Somewhere, people were screaming. "The West Wing," Marcus said. "That was Sarah's quarters," Dante finished. We ran. The corridor leading to my room was chaos. Smoke billowed from the doorway. Guards shouted orders. Someone was crying. The door was gone. Just a smoking frame where it had been. Inside, my room was destroyed, furniture shattered, walls scorched, the window blown out completely. If I'd been in there, I'd be dead. "They knew," I said numbly. "They knew I'd be training." "Inside job," Marcus confirmed. "Has to be." But Dante was staring at something in the wreckage. He moved forward slowly, pushing aside debris. There, burned into the stone floor. A symbol I'd never seen before. A circle with 3 claws tearing through it. "No," Dante breathed. "That's not possible." "What is it?" I asked. "The mark of the Void Walkers." His face had gone pale. "But they're extinct. They were wiped out centuries ago." "What are Void Walkers?" Before he could answer, the temperature dropped. My breath misted. And from the shadows at the back of my destroyed room, something moved. It was smoke and darkness given form. Roughly man-shaped but wrong, too tall, joints bending in ways they shouldn't. Where its face should be was just emptiness. A void. And it was looking at me. "Run," Dante said. The thing lunged. Dante shifted mid-leap, meeting it in the air. His wolf form crashed into the shadow creature, and they went down in a tangle of claws and darkness. "Sarah, run." Marcus grabbed my arm. But I couldn't move. Couldn't look away as Dante fought something that shouldn't exist. His claws passed through it like smoke, but its claws, solid somehow, raked across his side. Blood splattered the floor. My wolf surged forward, demanding to be released. Demanding to protect. "No," I said. "I'm not running." I pushed into the shift, faster this time, easier. Silver fur erupted across my skin. My vision sharpened. And something else, something I'd never felt before, power. Raw and ancient and mine. I didn't know what I was doing. Didn't have training or technique. I just knew that thing was hurting Dante, and that was unacceptable. I threw myself at the Void Walker. Silver light exploded from my partially shifted form. The creature shrieked, an awful, hollow sound, and recoiled. "Silver repels them," Marcus shouted. "Keep it away from the king." Dante was on the ground, bleeding heavily from his side. The Void Walker turned its attention to me. I bared my teeth and let my wolf's fury rise. Let the silver light pour from my skin like moonlight. The creature hesitated. Then it did something worse than attacking. It spoke. False. Luna. The voice was like wind through a crypt. You cannot stop what's coming. Then it dissolved into shadow and was gone. The room fell silent except for ragged breathing. I shifted back, stumbling. Marcus caught me. But my eyes were on Dante, who'd also shifted back and was pressing a hand to the deep gashes in his side. Blood welled between his fingers. You're hurt, I said. I'll heal. But his voice was strained. That thing knew what I was. My hands were shaking. It called me false Luna. Because someone told it what to look for. Dante tried to stand, swayed. I was at his side before I could think about it, taking his weight. You need a healer. I need answers. But he leaned on me, and I could feel how much it cost him to stay upright. Marcus helped me get Dante to his chambers, larger rooms in the central tower, heavily guarded. We laid him on the bed, and I pressed cloths to his wounds while Marcus went for the healer. That was stupid, Dante said through gritted teeth. Saving your life? Attacking something you didn't understand. Yeah, well, you're welcome. His hand caught mine. Why did you do it? We had a deal. Alliance. Nothing more. I looked at our joined hands. At the blood on both of us. At his gold eyes, fever bright with pain. I don't know, I admitted. But my wolf, it couldn't let you die. Sarah. The healer arrived, cutting off whatever he'd been about to say. While they worked on Dante, Marcus pulled me aside. We need to talk. Privately. He led me to a small study off the main chamber. Closed the door. The Void Walkers aren't just assassins, he said without preamble. They're harbingers. Omens. They appear when ancient magic is being worked. Dark magic. Someone summoned it. Someone with power. Someone who knows what Sarah is and wants her dead before she can complete the ritual. What ritual? Marcus pulled out a leather-bound book. Opened it to a marked page. I'd been researching the curse. The real curse, not the story they tell. And I found this. The page was covered in old text and illustrations. But one passage was underlined. The curse of the dying wolves can only be broken by the Silver Luna and the Alpha King, bound through the true mate bond and sealed under the blood moon. Should the ritual remain incomplete, both shall perish when the moon wanes. True mate bond, I read. What does that mean? It means soulmates. Destined pairs. And the ritual. Marcus pointed to another passage. It requires a willing mating. Complete union under the blood moon. My stomach dropped. You mean marriage. Marking. The full mating bond. His expression was grim. And if you don't complete it, if either of you refuses or dies before the blood moon ends, you both die. The curse ensures it. When is the blood moon? 3 weeks. The room spun. Dante knew. He knew all along. Of course he did. He's been planning this since he learned about you 3 years ago. He's been manipulating me. Training me. Getting me to trust him so I couldn't finish the sentence. The betrayal was too raw. Sarah. No. I backed toward the door. This alliance is over. I'm leaving. You can't. The Void Walker. I'll take my chances. I was out the door before Marcus could stop me. Through corridors I'd memorized during my imprisonment. Downstairs. Toward the stables. I'd get a horse. Disappear into the mountains. Find somewhere they couldn't track me. I'd almost made it to the stable doors when I felt it, that cold presence. That wrongness in the air. The Void Walker materialized in front of me, blocking my path. But this time, it wasn't alone. 3 of them. 4. 5. They surrounded me in the courtyard, their empty faces all turned in my direction. False. Luna must die. I shifted, faster now, almost natural. Silver fur. Silver light. But there were too many. And I was tired. Untrained. One of them lunged. I dodged, but another caught my leg. Pain seared through me as shadow claws cut deep. I screamed, going down. This was it. This was how it ended. Then a roar split the night. Dante, still bleeding, still wounded, crashed into the void walkers like a black avalanche. But he wasn't alone. Marcus was at his side. And behind them, a dozen of his strongest fighters. Protect the Luna. Dante's voice echoed in my mind. The Luna. Not false. Not Omega. Luna. The battle was chaos. Silver light and shadow. Claws and teeth and blood. I fought from the ground, my injured leg useless but my wolf refusing to submit. When it was over, when the last void walker had been driven back into whatever darkness had spawned them, Dante collapsed beside me. We lay in the courtyard, both bleeding, both gasping for air. You came, I said. Always, he replied. Then, don't leave. You lied to me. About the ritual. About what you really needed. I know. 3 weeks. If I don't complete the mating bond with you, we both die. Yes. You were going to manipulate me into it. Make me care just enough to go through with it. Yes, he said again. Honest, at least, in this moment. But it stopped being manipulation somewhere along the way. I turned my head to look at him. His gold eyes met mine. I have 3 weeks to decide if I want to die alone or bound to you, I said. Yes. I really hate you right now. I know. His hand found mine in the blood-soaked dirt. But you don't hate me enough to let me die. He was right. Damn him, he was right. This doesn't mean I forgive you, I said. I wouldn't expect you to. We lay there in the dark, holding hands like children, while our kingdoms died and the blood moon rose somewhere above us. And my wolf, that silver beast I'd only just found, whispered something I didn't want to hear. Mate. If you're still listening to this story up to this point, why don't you subscribe to this channel to continue getting impactful daily stories like this? We would be most grateful if you can do that to help boost this video to reach everyone. Thank you. Chapter 4. The healers worked on us for hours. Dante's wounds were deep, the void walker's claws had torn through muscle and scraped bone. My leg was bad, but not as critical. Still, we'd both lost too much blood. They wanted to separate us. Put us in different rooms for treatment. Dante refused. She stays where I can see her, he said through gritted teeth as they stitched his side. My lord, you need rest. She stays. So they set up cots side by side in Dante's chambers and worked on us simultaneously. I was too exhausted to argue. Too drained to do anything but lie there and watch the ceiling while they poured fire into my wounds and wrapped them in herb-soaked bandages. When the healers finally left, it was well past midnight. The room was quiet except for the crackling fire and our breathing. You should have let me go, I said into the darkness. Not an option. Why not? If I'd died out there, your problem would be solved. No more manipulation needed. No more. Don't. His voice was rough. Don't say that. Why? It's true. Without me, you'd be dead, he interrupted. Without you, I'd be dead. The curse would take me before the next blood moon. I turned my head to look at him. He was staring at the ceiling, his jaw tight. What do you mean? The wasting sickness. I have it. He laughed, bitter and broken. Started 6 months ago. I've been hiding it. Using every healer, every medicine, every spell we could find to slow it down. But it's only getting worse. My breath caught. That's why you're so desperate. That's why I'm dying. He closed his eyes. I watched it take my mother first. Then my father. Then my sister, my brother, my uncle. Every member of my family, one by one. I sat at their bedsides and held their hands while they wasted away, and I couldn't do anything to stop it. The pain in his voice was palpable. Raw. How old were you? 15 when my mother died. 20 when I lost the last of them. I've been Alpha King since I was 22, and I've spent every single day watching my kingdom die the same way my family did. His hands fisted in the sheets. So no, Sarah. I couldn't let you go. Because you're not just my last hope, you're theirs. Every wolf in every pack. Every child who shouldn't have to watch their parents waste away. Every parent who shouldn't have to bury their children. Tears burned my eyes. I'm sorry. I didn't know. How could you? I don't let anyone see. He finally turned to face me. Can't let them see the king is weak. That he's just as sick as they are. That he's terrified every single day that he'll wake up and it'll be the day the sickness finally wins. Dante. I never wanted a loveless marriage, he continued. Never wanted to trap someone in a political arrangement where they'd hate me. I wanted. He trailed off, shaking his head. It doesn't matter what I wanted. I've been doing what I had to do. For my people. Even if it meant becoming the villain in your story. I thought about the contract. The manipulation. The 3 weeks until the blood moon. And I thought about him, 15 years old, watching his mother die. 20, losing the last of his family. 22, crowned king of a dying kingdom with no one left to help carry the weight. You're not the villain, I said quietly. You're just trapped. Same as me. We're both prisoners of circumstance. His eyes met mine across the space between our cots. But that doesn't change the facts. In 3 weeks, we either complete the mating bond or we both die. And I'm still asking you to tie yourself to someone you barely know, for the sake of people you've never met. I know you better than you think. I shifted, ignoring the pain in my leg. I know you take your coffee black. That you train before dawn because you can't sleep. That you check on the sick ward every night when you think no one's watching. His expression shifted. You've been watching me. Hard not to when you've been watching me just as closely. Something passed between us, acknowledgement of what we'd been circling around for weeks. This thing that was more than alliance. More than necessity. More than either of us wanted to admit. Get some rest, Dante said finally. Tomorrow will be. The door burst open. Marcus stood there, his face grim. My lord. We found the traitor. Chancellor Victor stood in chains in the throne room, flanked by guards. He was older, maybe 60, with silver hair and a face that had always seemed kind. Grandfatherly. Now it just looked cruel. Victor, Dante said softly. He'd insisted on getting up, on being present for this, despite the healer's protests. How long? Since the beginning. Victor's smile was cold. Since before you were even crowned. Did you really think the council supported you? A boy king, barely grown, trying to hold together a fractured kingdom? You were my father's friend. I was your father's keeper. Making sure he stayed in line. Making sure the old bloodlines maintained power. Victor's eyes slid to me. And then she appeared. The last silver wolf. The one thing that could actually break the curse and ruin everything we'd worked for. You want the kingdoms to fall, I said. I want the old order restored. Before the curse. Before the silver bloodline cursed us for daring to overthrow their tyranny. He spat at my feet. Your ancestors weren't benevolent rulers. They were despots. Slave masters who kept the rest of us in chains. That's not. Isn't it? Read your history, girl. The silver bloodline controlled every wolf through their power. We couldn't disobey. Couldn't think for ourselves. We were puppets, and they held the strings. His voice rose. So yes, our ancestors rose up. Killed them. And the last silver Luna cursed us with her dying breath. Said we'd die slowly, painfully, for our betrayal. And you'd rather let everyone die than break that curse, Dante said. I'd rather we face our fate with honor than submit to another silver tyrant. Victor looked at me with pure hatred. But your former pack has other ideas. They're willing to pay handsomely for your corpse. My stomach dropped. What? Did you think they let you go so easily? That they didn't have contingencies? Victor laughed. They've been tracking you since you left. Waiting for the perfect moment. And tonight, they make their move. As if summoned by his words, the fortress shook. Explosions. Screams. The sound of metal on metal. Attack, someone shouted from outside. Marcus drew his weapon. Rogues at the south gate. Corrupted wolves at the north. They're trying to breach on multiple fronts. How many? Dante demanded. Hundreds. Maybe more. Marcus's face was pale. It's a full army. Victor smiled. You're outnumbered. Outmatched. And your precious Luna is too weak to save you. I stared at him. At this man who'd betrayed everything for revenge centuries old. Who'd rather watch the world burn than let go of ancient hatred. And something inside me snapped. Not with rage. With clarity. You're wrong, I said quietly. About what? About me being weak. I let my wolf rise. Not tentatively this time. Not halfway. All the way. The shift was agonizing and glorious. Bones breaking and reforming. Skin splitting to let silver fur emerge. My vision sharpened. My senses exploded. And power. Raw, ancient power, flooded through me like moonlight. When it was done, I stood on 4 legs, my head level with Dante's chest. My fur gleamed silver in the torchlight. And from my body, that same silver light poured out in waves. Victor's smile faltered. Impossible. You shouldn't be able to. I snarled, and he stumbled back. She's fully awakened, Marcus breathed. The silver Luna. Actually real. Another explosion rocked the fortress. We can admire her later, Dante said. Right now, we fight. He shifted too, his black wolf massive and powerful despite his wounds. Together, we made an odd pair, shadow and light. Together, his voice said in my mind, and I realized with a start that I could hear him. That the bond was already forming, whether we'd completed the ritual or not. Together, I agreed. We burst from the throne room into chaos. The fortress was under siege. Rogues poured through breached gates. Corrupted wolves, their eyes red, their movements jerky and wrong, attacked anything that moved. And at the center of it all, I saw the banners. The Blackwood Pack crest. My former pack had come to finish what they'd started. Rage and grief warred in my chest, but I pushed them aside. There would be time for emotions later. Right now, there was only survival. I threw myself into the battle. And gods, it felt good. My wolf was faster than I'd imagined. Stronger. The silver light that poured from me seemed to weaken the corrupted wolves, making them easier to take down. And when I fought with the fury of every lie I'd been told, every year I'd been kept weak, every betrayal. I was magnificent. Beside me, Dante fought with the controlled violence of a king who'd been at war his entire life. We moved together like we'd been doing this for years, covering each other's blind spots, anticipating each other's moves. Behind you, he warned, and I spun in time to tear into a rogue's throat. Left flank, I sent back, and he took down 3 corrupted wolves in one brutal assault. We were cutting through the enemy forces, pushing them back, when I felt it. A presence. Familiar and wrong at the same time. I turned toward the main gates, and my heart stopped. My father stood there. Alpha Magnus Blackwood. Dead 3 years. Except he wasn't dead at all. He looked older. Grayer. But very much alive. "Hello, daughter," he said. I shifted back, not caring that I was naked and bleeding. "You're dead. I watched them bury you." "You watched them bury an empty coffin." He stepped forward, flanked by Blackwood warriors. "Did you really think I'd die so easily? That I'd leave you unsupervised? I don't understand." "Of course you don't. You never understood anything." His expression was cold. "You were always just a means to an end. A bloodline to be sold. A power to be controlled." Dante shifted back too, standing at my side. Magnus. Dante. Still playing the righteous king, I see. My father smiled. "Tell me, did you enjoy manipulating my daughter? Getting her to trust you?" "At least I tried to save her," Dante shot back. "You sold her." "I sold a commodity. There's a difference." Magnus' eyes settled on me. "Your mother understood. That's why I had to kill her." The world tilted. "What? Your mother? Sweet, stupid Elena. She actually thought she could protect you. That she could hide what you were." He laughed. "She tried to run, you know. Tried to take you away in the middle of the night. I caught her at the border. Slit her throat while she begged for your life." Memories crashed over me. My mother's face. Her lullaby. The night she disappeared. I was 5, I whispered. Old enough to remember. Young enough to believe she'd died of illness. He took another step forward. "I've been planning this for 20 years. Suppressing your wolf. Keeping you weak. Waiting for the right moment to cash in on your bloodline. You're my father. I'm a businessman. And you, my dear, are worth far more dead than alive." He drew a blade, silver, etched with dark runes. "Victor promised me half the kingdom if I delivered your corpse before the blood moon. Turns out, the curse can be redirected. Transferred to someone else. Someone willing to take on that power. You doom everyone," Dante snarled. "Your own pack. Your own people. My pack is already dead. This sickness has taken most of them. The rest will follow." Magnus shrugged. "Better to be rich in a dying world than poor in a saved one." He lunged. I should have moved. Should have shifted. Should have done something. But I was frozen. Watching my father, the man I'd mourned, the man I'd loved, try to murder me with the same casual indifference he'd shown killing my mother. Dante moved instead. He threw himself between us, and the silver blade meant for my heart plunged into his shoulder instead. "No!" I screamed. Magnus yanked the blade free, and Dante went down. Silver poisoning. It would spread through his system. Kill him slowly. And something inside me broke. Not with grief this time. With fury. My wolf exploded out of me, not a shift, but pure power. Silver light flooded the courtyard, blinding and absolute. I felt my bloodline wake fully, felt the ancient magic respond to my rage. I could kill him. Could end Magnus Blackwood with a thought. Could make him suffer the way he'd made my mother suffer. The way he tried to make me suffer. It would be so easy. But as I stood there, silver fire crackling around me, I looked at Dante. At Marcus. At the fortress full of people who were depending on me to be better than my enemies. I looked at my father, cowering on the ground, his blade fallen from nerveless fingers. And I chose. "You don't deserve death," I said, my voice echoing with power. You deserve to live with what you've done. To watch the world be saved by the daughter you tried to destroy. To know that everything you worked for meant nothing. Sarah, don't, Magnus started. I banish you, I continued. From every pack. Every territory. You will wander alone, marked as king killer, and no wolf will offer you shelter. You will live long enough to see your legacy turn to ash. I stamped my foot, and silver light flared. The mark appeared on his forehead, 3 claw marks, glowing and permanent. The mark of the banished. Magnus screamed. Go, I said. Before I change my mind. He ran. My father, Alpha Magnus Blackwood, ran like a whipped dog into the darkness. The battle was over. The enemy forces, seeing their leader flee, scattered. The corrupted wolves, without Victor's dark magic sustaining them, collapsed. I rushed to Dante's side. He was pale, blood pouring from his shoulder. The silver poisoning was already spreading, black veins creeping up his neck. Dante, no. No, stay with me. His eyes fluttered open. You saved me. Of course I did, you idiot. Tears streamed down my face. You threw yourself in front of a blade for me. Worth it, he murmured. To see you, like this. So powerful. So beautiful. Don't you dare die on me. Not planning to. He managed a weak smile. But Sarah, the poison. It's silver. It'll kill me unless. Unless what? Unless you heal me. Silver bloodline can heal anything. But it requires. He coughed, and blood flecked his lips. Requires the mating bond. Full connection. I understood what he was asking. What he needed. 3 weeks. We'd had 3 weeks to decide. But looking at him dying in my arms, I realized I'd already decided. Maybe I'd decided that first night in the forest. Maybe I'd decided every time he pushed me to be stronger. Maybe I'd decided the moment he'd called me Luna instead of bride. I'll complete the ritual, I said. Not because I have to. Not because of the curse or the blood moon or any of it. Then why? Because I choose you. I cupped his face. Because you've seen me at my worst and my best, and you never tried to make me smaller. Because when you look at me, you don't see a commodity or a weapon or a means to an end. You see me. Sarah. But we do this as equals, I continued. Not king and subject. Not alpha and omega. Partners. Equals. Or not at all. Dante laughed, then winced. Demanding terms from a dying man. You're not dying. I won't let you. I looked at Marcus, who'd been standing guard nearby. What do we need for the ritual? A mating bite. An exchange of blood. And a vow under the moon. He glanced up. Lucky for you both, the blood moon rises tonight. I looked up. There, breaking through the clouds, was the moon, full and red as blood. Perfect timing, I muttered. This will hurt, Dante warned. The bond, it's permanent. Absolute. You'll feel everything I feel. Know everything I know. Good. Then you'll know I'm choosing this. Choosing you. I didn't wait for his response. I lowered my head to his shoulder, the unmarked one, and bit. The taste of his blood was copper and smoke and something indefinable. Power flooded through me, mixing with my own. I felt the moment the bond snapped into place, like 2 pieces of a puzzle finally connecting. Dante gasped. Then his hand tangled in my hair, and he pulled me up to his neck. Your turn. His bite was different. Claiming. Marking. But not possessive. It felt like coming home. Like finding something I hadn't known I'd been missing. When it was done, we pulled apart. The wounds on his shoulder were already healing, the black veins receding as my silver power flooded through him, burning out the poison. The vow, Marcus prompted. Dante and I stood, still holding each other, blood on our lips and power crackling between us. I, Dante Ashbourne, Alpha King of the Northern Territories, take you, Sarah Blackwood, Silver Luna, as my mate. My equal. My partner. His voice was strong despite everything. I vow to protect, honor, and stand beside you. Not above you. Not ahead of you. Beside you. For all our days. The words felt like magic. Like a contract written in starlight. I, Sarah Blackwood, Silver Luna, take you, Dante Ashbourne, Alpha King, as my mate. My equal. My partner. My voice didn't shake. I vow to protect, honor, and stand beside you. To be your strength when you falter. Your light in the darkness. For all our days. The blood moon pulsed above us. Power exploded outward. Silver and gold, mixing and merging. I felt the curse break. Felt it shatter like glass across every pack, every territory, every wolf. In the fortress, the sick began to heal. Their breathing eased. Their color returned. Across the kingdoms, wolves who'd been dying suddenly drew full breaths. The curse was broken. And I stood in the center of the fortress courtyard, mated to a king, covered in blood and silver light, no longer the scared bride who'd run from her wedding. I was the Silver Luna. And I just saved the world. Dante pulled me close, his forehead resting against mine. Thank you, he whispered. For what? For choosing me. For saving me. For being you. I kissed him, first kiss, sealed under the blood moon, tasting like copper and destiny. We're going to have problems, I told him when we finally pulled apart. I'm not going to be some quiet, obedient Luna. I'm going to have opinions. Make demands. Probably drive you insane. Good, he said. I'd be bored otherwise. Around us, the fortress began to cheer. The battle was won. The curse was broken. And their king had found his queen. But as I stood there, basking in victory, I felt it, a ripple in the bond. A shadow that shouldn't be there. Something was still wrong. And the Void Walker's final words echoed in my mind. You cannot stop what's coming. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. If you're still listening to this story up to this point, why don't you subscribe to this channel to continue getting impactful daily stories like this? We would be most grateful if you can do that to help boost this video to reach everyone. Thank you. Chapter 5. The blood moon hung full and heavy in the sky, painting everything crimson. In the 3 hours since Dante and I had completed our mating bond, the world had transformed. The sick were healing. Not slowly, instantly. Wolves who'd been on death's door were sitting up, breathing clearly, their skin returning to healthy color. The wasting sickness that had plagued our kind for generations was simply gone. The curse was broken. But standing in Dante's private chambers, wrapped in a robe while healers fussed over the last of our wounds, I knew our work was far from finished. The council is demanding an audience, Marcus said from the doorway. He looked exhausted but relieved. They want to discuss the transition of power now that the curse is broken. Transition of power? I asked. You're mated to the Alpha King, Marcus explained. That makes you queen consort. They'll want to formalize it. Make it official. Something cold settled in my stomach. Queen consort. It's traditional. No. Everyone in the room turned to look at me. No? Dante asked carefully. I didn't break a curse and fight a war to become a consort. I stood, ignoring the protests of the healer trying to wrap my ribs. I didn't choose this bond to be some decorative figure standing 3 steps behind you. Sarah. If the council wants to formalize anything, they can formalize this. I rule as equal alpha beside you, or I walk away. I met his eyes. Those are my terms. The room fell silent. Marcus looked like he wanted to sink through the floor. The healers had frozen mid-motion. Dante stared at me for a long moment. Then, slowly, he smiled, that real smile, the one that transformed his entire face. "Tell the council we'll meet them in 1 hour," he said to Marcus. "And that they should prepare for some changes." The throne room was packed. Not just with Dante's court, but with representatives from every major pack. Word had spread fast about the curse breaking, and everyone wanted to witness what came next. The Council of Elders sat in their traditional places, 12 ancient wolves who'd guided policy for decades. Elder Thomas was among them, looking significantly less confident than he had at my wedding 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks. It felt like a lifetime. Dante and I entered together. I'd refused the elaborate gown they'd tried to dress me in, opting instead for leather armor, practical, fitted, and unmistakably warrior-like. My silver hair, fully transformed during my awakening, hung loose down my back. I looked like what I was, a fighter. A Luna. A force. The room fell silent as we approached the twin thrones. Someone had hastily added a second one, smaller, positioned slightly behind Dante's. I stopped walking. "That won't work," I said clearly. "Lady Sarah," Elder Thomas began. "It's tradition for the queen consort to." "I'm not a queen consort." I turned to face the assembly. "I'm the Silver Luna. The last of my bloodline. The one who broke your curse. And I will not be relegated to a lesser throne." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Shock. Outrage. Some approval, mostly from younger wolves. "The position of queen consort isn't honored," Thomas started. "Is a cage," I interrupted. "A pretty title with no power. No voice. No authority." I looked at Dante. "That's not what we agreed to." "No," Dante said, his voice carrying across the throne room. "It's not." He turned to face the council. "The Silver Luna Sarah Blackwood is my equal. My partner. She will rule beside me, not behind me, not beneath me, beside me. As Alpha." The room erupted. "Impossible. There's never been 2 alphas. Tradition demands." "Tradition," Dante said quietly, and somehow his soft voice cut through the chaos, nearly killed us all. "Tradition kept the silver bloodline suppressed. Tradition let corrupt wolves like Victor and Magnus Blackwood sell pack members like cattle. Tradition is what created the curse in the first place." He moved to stand beside me. "So here's the new tradition: the wolf kingdoms will be led by strength, not gender. By merit, not outdated hierarchy. And anyone who disagrees can challenge either of us for the right to rule." Silence fell. Then, from the back of the room, someone began to clap. Marcus. Soon others joined, younger wolves mostly, but some older ones too. Wolves who'd been healed by the curse breaking. Who'd seen what I could do. Elder Thomas looked like he'd swallowed something sour. "The council will need to vote." "The council," a new voice said, "will adapt or be replaced." An elderly female wolf stepped forward. I didn't know her, but the way others moved aside suggested she was important. "Elder Meredith," Dante said respectfully. "I am the oldest living wolf in the Northern Territories," Meredith said. Her voice was thin but strong. "I was alive when the last Silver Luna walked among us. I remember what real power looked like." She turned those ancient eyes on me. "And I see it in her." She lowered herself carefully to one knee. "I recognize Sarah Blackwood as Silver Luna. As Alpha. As equal ruler." One by one, others followed. Marcus. The warriors who'd fought beside us. Pack representatives who'd lost family to the curse. Not everyone bowed. Elder Thomas remained standing, along with several other traditionalists. But enough did that the message was clear. The balance of power had shifted. "So be it," Dante said. He gestured, and servants rushed forward. When they retreated, 2 thrones sat side by side on the dais, identical in size, identical in placement. Equal. Dante took my hand and led me to the thrones. We sat together, facing the assembly as one. The Silver Luna has returned, he announced. Let anyone who doubts her authority step forward now. No one moved. Then we have work to do, I said. Starting with the Blackwood Pack. We rode into Blackwood territory 3 days later with an escort of 50 warriors. Not an invading force, a liberation. The pack lands looked different than I remembered. Smaller. Shabbier. The curse had hit them hard, and without my father's leadership, such as it was, they'd been floundering. The remaining elders met us at the border. Elder Margaret was there, looking significantly older and more nervous than when she'd handed me my daily tonic of poison. Lady Sarah, she said, not quite meeting my eyes. We didn't expect. I'm sure you didn't. I dismounted, Dante beside me. Where are the Omegas? The Omegas? The wolves you've been suppressing. Controlling. Poisoning, like you did to me. I stepped closer. Where are they? Margaret's face paled. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me. My wolf rose behind my eyes, and she stumbled back. I can smell the same herbs you fed me. I can sense the suppressed wolves. Where are they? The southern barracks, she whispered. I found them in a building that was barely more than a shed. 15 wolves, all young, all weak-looking. All being fed the same daily tonic I'd received for years. The rage that filled me was cold and controlled. You're free, I told them. As of this moment, you're under my protection. Anyone who tries to suppress your wolves again will answer to me. They stared at me with a mixture of hope and disbelief. Is it true? A young girl asked. Maybe 14. Are you really the Silver Luna? I let my wolf show, just a little. Just enough for silver to glow in my eyes. I am. And I was once like you. Told I was weak. Told I was wolfless. But they lied. I knelt down to her level. You're not weak. You've been made weak. And that ends today. By the end of the week, I'd established new laws across every pack territory under our rule. No wolf could be suppressed without their consent. Omegas had the same rights as alphas. Forced matings were banned. Pack members could leave their pack without fear of retribution. There was resistance, of course. Some alphas howled about tradition. About the natural order. About how things had always been done. I met with each one personally. Explained the new reality. And made it very clear that anyone who violated the new laws would deal with me directly. Most fell in line. A few tried to challenge me. They learned quickly why you didn't challenge a Silver Luna. You're terrifying when you're in full alpha mode, Dante said one evening, watching me review reports in our shared study. Good, I replied without looking up. Fear keeps them honest. It's not just fear. He crossed to where I sat, spinning my chair around to face him. It's respect. Admiration. You've changed everything in 3 weeks. We've changed everything, I corrected. You backed me up every time. Even when the council pushed back. Even when it would have been easier to side with tradition. Of course I did. We're partners. He pulled me to my feet. Though I'll admit, I didn't expect you to be quite so revolutionary. Disappointed? Fascinated. His arms wrapped around my waist. Challenged. Occasionally terrified. Definitely never bored. I laughed, letting myself relax into him. Is this what you imagined? When you made that contract 3 years ago? No. He was quiet for a moment. I imagined a political marriage. A means to an end. A bride who'd tolerate me at best. And instead? Instead I got you. He tilted my chin up. A woman who threw a vase at my head on our first day together. Who escaped into the forbidden forest in a wedding dress? Who challenged every rule, questioned every order, and somehow became the most magnificent leader I've ever seen? Sweet talker. It's not sweet talk if it's true. He kissed me, slow and thorough. I love you, Sarah. Not because of the bond. Not because of your power. Because of who you are when all that's stripped away. Brave and stubborn and absolutely infuriating. My heart swelled. We'd said many things to each other over the past weeks, but not this. Not yet. I love you too, I admitted. Even though you're controlling and manipulative and occasionally an arrogant ass. Occasionally? Frequently. He laughed, and it was genuine. Joyful. The sound of a man who'd been carrying the weight of the world and had finally learned to set it down. Our relationship wasn't perfect. We fought regularly. Loud, passionate arguments about policy and tradition and whose turn it was to deal with the council. But we always came back together. Always chose each other. That was the difference between a forced bond and a chosen one. 2 months after the curse broke, Marcus brought me a scroll he'd found in the ruins of the ritual site. You should see this, he said, his expression troubled. The scroll was ancient, the text barely legible. But I could make out enough. When the silver luna rises, the old gods will wake. The curse was their prison, and she is their key. What was bound will be freed. What was sleeping will hunt. And the world will tremble before what comes next. Old gods, I read aloud. What does that mean? I don't know, Marcus admitted. But there are legends. Stories about what existed before wolves. Before the silver bloodline. Something older. Something that the first lunas had to bind away. A chill ran down my spine. And breaking the curse might have broken more than one binding. I thought about the Void Walkers. About their final warning. About the shadow I sometimes felt at the edge of my consciousness, watching, waiting. Does Dante know? Not yet. I wanted to tell you first. I looked at the scroll. At the prophecy that suggested our victory might have been the opening act, not the finale. Tell him, I said finally. But don't tell anyone else. Not yet. We've just rebuilt these kingdoms. Given people hope. They need time to heal before we tell them about new threats. And what do? We prepare. I rolled up the scroll carefully. We train. We strengthen our alliances. And we watch the forbidden forest. Because that's where I felt it most strongly. That presence. That wrongness. Something was coming. Something ancient and powerful and very, very patient. That night, I stood on the balcony of our chambers, looking out over the mountains toward the dark line of the forbidden forest. Dante joined me, wrapping his arms around my waist from behind. What are you thinking about? He asked. The prophecy. The old gods. What we might have unleashed. Regrets? No. I leaned back against him. I'd do it all again. Break the curse. Save our people. Choose you. I paused. But I'm not naive. This isn't over. Nothing's ever really over. He rested his chin on my shoulder. There's always another threat. Another challenge. That's life. Poetic. I have my moments. He turned me to face him. But here's what I know, whatever comes next, we face it together. As we've faced everything else. Together, I agreed. In the distance, something howled. Not a wolf's howl, something deeper. Older. A sound that hadn't been heard in centuries. My wolf bristled, but I didn't back down. I was no longer the scared bride who jumped from a cathedral window. I was the Silver Luna. I'd broken a curse, toppled corrupt leaders, and rewritten the laws of wolf society. If the old gods wanted to challenge me, they were welcome to try. Let them come, I whispered, watching the dark forest. I am no one's victim. I am the Silver Luna, and I bow to no one. Dante's arms tightened around me. In the bond, I felt his fierce pride. His absolute faith. And I knew, whatever darkness waited in those ancient woods, whatever the prophecy meant, we would face it the same way we'd faced everything else. Together. Equal. Unbreakable. The blood moon had risen and fallen. The curse was broken. A new age had begun. And the Silver Luna was ready for whatever came next. The end, or perhaps, the beginning. In the depths of the forbidden forest, ancient eyes opened. Eyes that had watched civilizations rise and fall. That had slumbered through millennia, bound by a curse that no longer held. The old gods were waking. And they were hungry. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Subscribe, like and share this video to continue listening to this type of story daily and also, to appreciate this community too. I would like to hear your wonderful opinion about this story. Please comment below.